And people need Jesus, and people need to know that he's good even in the darkness. And so if nothing else, that's what I hope you take away from this video. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome to my channel. My name's Hillary. I'm a mom to a 4-year-old named Sebastian and a 2-year-old named Zeb. And just gonna put a trigger warning here. I'm gonna share a little bit about our recent miscarriage. And so if that is something you're uncomfortable hearing, or if you're in a place where you can't listen to this, then I completely understand if you don't want to watch this video. But just know that I know what it feels like, and I never dreamed that I would know what it feels like, but here we are. So let's jump in. I kind of just want to share the story. For me, it's therapeutic to talk to my camera and kind of pour my heart out, and then having this as just a remembrance of the fact that this baby did exist and that they were real, and that, you know, they were born into the arms of Jesus instead of into my arms. And honestly, what could be more amazing? And the little life that they had inside of me, I never want to forget, because the love of Jesus that I have been shown through this miscarriage experience is unbelievable. And so for that reason alone, this baby's purpose was, if this baby's only purpose was to bring me closer to Jesus, then its job was done, and that's why its time on earth within my belly was short-lived. So anyways, let's jump in to this video. I want to kind of just share like the story, but I also don't really want to sit and edit this because I don't want to relive it all for like a third time. So if this video is all over the place, or if it is jumbled, or if there are a few random cuts, just know that that's why. Just because I'm going to try and get this out there, because I have the videos of finding out we were pregnant and telling our family. I had filmed all of those. I don't know if I ever want to share those. I might just keep those for us. But if I do decide to share those, then obviously I want this video to also be out there, because if I share those, then I don't want people to be confused, because we did lose our baby. So I guess let's just back up. So January, I'm gonna use my phone to try and keep track of like dates and stuff. So we went on our anniversary trip to Miami the first week in January of 2023. I will link those videos above. Those vlogs were really fun. We had the very best time, so much fun that we thought we were gonna bring home a permanent souvenir. We apparently got pregnant on that trip, and we found out we were pregnant January 28th. I was supposed to show my period, and obviously it hadn't started, and I was like, I'm not pregnant, I'm not pregnant, I'm not pregnant, I'm not pregnant. And I went and bought a test anyways, and I didn't tell Zach I was going to buy a test because I really didn't think I was, but I was like, if I am, like, I need to find out alone. So I went, and this was ironically the second time that I took a pregnancy test in the Walmart bathroom, because I didn't want to bring it home and test in front of him because he was home. And so with Zeb, I also found out in the Walmart bathroom. But anyways, so I bought a test, found out we were pregnant, and I was shocked. If I ever share the video of finding out, then you guys you'll be able to see the pure shock. We were not expecting it. It was not in our plans. It was very, very hard at first to accept. Obviously, we got over that very quickly and quickly became excited. And I was dreaming of this third baby and the life that it was gonna have, and, you know, where it was gonna sleep, and how the boys were gonna be, and the thought of Zeb being an older brother and being a middle child. He fits that stereotype so well, and I was so excited for that experience. So we went through a few weeks of, so I found out right at like 4 or 5 weeks. I think it was like 4 weeks. And we went through a few weeks of trying to, like, insurance battles, and we have a weird insurance, and so we had to, and I wanted to see a specific doctor because I had planned to have a gentle C-section, meaning that, like, Zach would be in the room and he would be able to cut the cord and they would pull the drapes down, and I had this whole, like, dream of having my least traumatic birth, because if you haven't seen, I'll also try and link my birth vlogs above with Zeb and Sebastian, because they were really just traumatic births, and I was trying to have something least traumatic, so I thought a planned C-section would just be the way to go. And so that's what we were planning to do, and so I had a specific doctor that I wanted to see. Because of that, my insurance had to get approved to see this doctor, and it was this whole process. And so for like 3-4 weeks, I think it was about 3 weeks, we were back and forth trying to get everything scheduled. Finally, we got good news. My insurance was approved, my doctor was approved, everything was good to go. Got my first appointment made for March 3rd. We had our first appointment, and at that point I was supposed to have been 8 weeks and 6 days, so almost 9 weeks. And so I knew one of our first ultrasounds with Sebastian was right around 9-10 weeks, and so I knew that it was supposed to be this little gummy bear baby with arms and legs kicking around. And I had had all kinds of pregnancy symptoms. I was so sick, I had headaches, I was exhausted, I had no loss of symptoms of anything. So going into this appointment, I was fully expecting to see a baby moving on the ultrasound screen. That Friday morning, I woke up, and we had all kind of had like colds and stuff, but I woke up that Friday morning so nauseous, like incredibly nauseous and sick. I barely could get up. I finally got out of bed and made it to the chair, and I had plans to like get ready because I wanted to film our first ultrasound. In hindsight, I'm kind of glad I didn't film that day, because had I vlogged that day, I think it would have been a little bit too traumatic for me to relive. But I had wanted to get ready, but I woke up so sick that I couldn't. And I remember sitting in this chair in our living room, and Zach like helped me put my pants on because I was literally so sick that I had to get ready because we had to leave. And so the whole car ride there, I slept because I was like, I could not keep my eyes open. I was so nauseous. And so I had my eyes closed the whole car ride, and I had a splitting headache that was absolutely unbearable. When we got there, I was finally feeling a little bit better. Like about 5 minutes before we got there, I like woke up and I sat up and I was feeling better, and I ate like a little bite of something and I was feeling better, and I was like, okay, like we're here, it's gonna be fine. So we go up, fill out the paperwork, we're sitting down, we're waiting, everything, you know, is going good. And then we go in the ultrasound room. And she was like, you're almost 9 weeks. We should be able to see the baby on the abdominal ultrasound. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's what sorry, this is hard. I was expecting, you know, to be able to see that. So she puts the machine on my stomach, and Zach and I are sitting there, and we're both looking at the screen. And I knew the second that I saw that there wasn't a baby. I just knew. And I, you know, at this point I've had 2 children. I knew what an ultrasound should look like, especially around that time frame. And there was nothing. And she didn't say anything. And she just said, we're going to try a vaginal, you know, sometimes it's hard to see. So she does the vaginal ultrasound. She leaves the room, you know, and when she left the room for me to take my pants off and stuff, I looked at Zach and I was like, I just knew, and he knew. And she comes back in and she does the vaginal ultrasound, and on the screen we could see the yolk sac and a little ball beside it, but she didn't really speak at all. She didn't try and get a heartbeat, obviously. She just really didn't try and do anything. She didn't speak to us, and not to like be rude, but she was like, you know, like, your doctor will see you in just a minute. But I didn't have to wait for the doctor. Like I said, I just knew. And so we went into the room to wait for my doctor to come in, and she came in. Well, before she came in, I was crying, and Zach was like, you know, like, we don't know anything yet, let's not jump to conclusions, like, it's okay. And he was like being the absolute best partner in the whole world, and he was holding me. I was just literally like sobbing. I knew, but I was also just like hanging on to like the tiniest amount of hope. And the doctor comes in and she said, are you sure you're almost 9 weeks? And I said, I mean, I'm 99% sure. I track my ovulation, my periods, I know my body really well. And she said, well, I don't have anything to go off of to confirm. However, your baby is measuring 5 weeks and 6 days. She said, now, the baby is measuring perfectly for 5 weeks and 6 days, but there isn't a heartbeat yet. And she said, which is not abnormal for a 5-week, 6-day baby, because typically the heart starts beating around 6 weeks, but there wasn't a heartbeat. And if you for sure know that you're further along, then my preemptive inclination is that this could possibly be a miscarriage. And I knew how far along I was, so I knew. She said, let's come back in a week, and she said we'll do another ultrasound to confirm. She was leaning on the hope of I would come back in a week and we would assess, further what we needed to do further, if I needed a D&C or anything like that, just to see. Miracle, maybe baby would grow. And so she wanted me to come back in a week. And so I, quite literally could not even make the appointment. Zach made the appointment, and we walked outside, and the second we got down the elevator, neither one of us were really speaking to each other. It was that silence that could cut the air. And we got outside, and Zach was like, I'll go get the car, you just wait here. And I said, okay. And as I was standing there, the room started spinning, and I was standing outside, and I got so nauseous and so sick and so weak feeling. I started throwing up in the bushes, and I literally was like bent over, and I remember the way that my heart and my head was feeling, and I was so consumed with emotions and this unknown that I didn't even process that I was throwing up. But I was just sitting there just praying Zach would hurry up, because I just did not feel good, and I was so, like I said, just consumed with emotion. And so Zach brings the car around, and he comes, and he doesn't know where I am at first, and then he said he saw me, and he parked the car, threw the hazards on, and ran up to me and grabbed me and asked if I was okay. And I just remember not being okay, and I was like, I just need to get in the car, I just don't feel good. I don't feel good. And I got in the car, and I tried to close my eyes, but I couldn't close my eyes. I couldn't sleep. I was just still so sick and so hurt and just confused. And I texted my mom, and I just said, there's no heartbeat, possible miscarriage, I don't know how to feel. And my mom sent me a really sweet text back, and then I reached out to what I didn't know at the moment would be God's greatest gift to me. A friend of mine, 3 of us had found out we were pregnant together in my mom's group. 3 of us had found out we were pregnant together, and we were all due within a couple weeks of each other. We were all very excited. And so they were some of the first people that I told I was pregnant when we found out unexpectedly. And my friend, I texted her because a couple weeks before my appointment, she had gone in, and her baby's heart had basically slowed down and was stopping, and she was also losing her baby. And so I texted her, and I said basically what was happening, and I said I don't know what to do. And she essentially became my dearest friend and God's greatest gift to me. Literally up until I think yesterday, we have texted every day since March 3rd, and today is March 21st, and it's been just this nonstop texting communications of how are you, how are you feeling, what can I do for you. But before I go into all that, so I texted her and basically, kind of told her everything. And then I came home, or no, we didn't even come home. We got back to our side of town, because my appointment was up on the north side. We got back to our side of town, and Zach was like, are you ready to go home? And I said, no, I want Mexican. And so we were supposed to go to Texas. He stopped into our Texas. Sorry, this is all over the place. And then when we got home, we got to the Mexican restaurant, and I couldn't even eat. If you know me, you know that cheese dip is one of my favorite foods. And I didn't even finish a bowl of cheese dip, and I think I ate 3 bites of rice. And then we came home, and my mother-in-law was here with the boys, and I don't really remember much of Friday other than after my mother-in-law left, I got in the bed, and I pretty much didn't move the whole weekend. Friday and Saturday were both some of the absolute hardest days of my life. I was in a depression before I was even really experiencing anything else. It was really, really dark days. However, Sunday, we got up. Well, I didn't. We had planned to not go to church, but I survived the morning. Zach had to work, so I had to watch, I had to help with the boys. And so I took care of the boys that morning, and then Zach got home from work and we were sitting down to watch church. And I remember sitting there watching church, and I couldn't even pay attention. Every fiber of my being just hurt. I was crampy. I just did not feel good. I was just really going through it emotionally before I even experienced any physical pain. And it was just a state of depression. But we watched church, and then as soon as church was over, I got up to go to the bathroom, and I had started bleeding. And it was in that moment, I think I stayed in the bathroom for like 30 minutes or 45 minutes. I just sat in there and I just cried. I didn't want the boys to see me. I didn't want Zach to see me. I just kind of wanted to grieve alone, because it was like, okay, it's over. It's done. This is the end. And it was really, really hard. And so Sunday I started bleeding and kind of bled all day. Monday, Zach went to work and then came home as quickly as he could. I was still bleeding, but I hadn't lost the baby yet. Tuesday, Zach was at work, and the camera's gonna die. Sebastian was the absolute greatest blessing of my life. The camera's gonna die. I'm gonna try and remember where I left off at, and I will pick this back up after I charge the battery. Okay, I charged the battery for a few minutes. I'm hoping it's enough to try and get through the rest of this story. And if everything looks different or the angle changes, that's why. Anyways, okay, so that Tuesday, I'm reading through. I had journaled in my phone a bunch of notes, and I wrote, Tuesday morning was low-key with the boys, but I felt good. Good enough I cleaned up the living room before Zeb's nap. However, when I went to lay him down for his nap around 1, that's when things got hard. I vividly remember feeling a clot falling out as I laid Zeb in his bed, so I ran to the bathroom. I passed several more and started contracting really hard. I got in the shower because I was alone and I didn't want Sebastian to see me in that level of pain. I had put Zeb down for his nap, and I was just gonna let Sebastian have some quiet time. So he was in here in the living room, and as all of that was happening, I was like, I have to take a shower because I was so scared he was gonna see me hurting, and I didn't want him to see me in that kind of pain or to be worried about me, because this is mom supposed to take care of him and he's not supposed to take care of me, which didn't happen. And he's God's gift to mankind, and the stuff that he did for me is, I will never be able to repay him. I mean, my little 4-year-old baby, and he did more than he'll ever know. His support alone, I mean, like I said, I was here alone with my kids, and he was helping take care of me. This next part is kind of TMI, but I want to share it for me because I film these videos for me. I just put them on the internet in case other people need to relate. But I also didn't realize that a miscarriage was basically still labor. You still have contractions. You still have to push things out, and it doesn't matter how early you are. I'm sure it's different if you're only 4, 5, or 6 weeks. But being nearly 10, this is my experience, and that's not to say that being only 4 weeks pregnant would have made it any easier. This still was the most traumatic thing, and I will never discount someone else's experience as easier than mine, because I don't think that this is easy in any capacity, whether you're 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 20 weeks. I don't think that it's comparable. Everybody's experience is their own, and every experience is hard. But being 8, 9 weeks pregnant, even though the baby had stopped growing at 6 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 days, my body had still been nearly 9 weeks pregnant, or was 9 weeks pregnant, that it had to still pass that placenta and all of that, and God knows what else, the tissues and everything else that was in there. But this day was really hard because it was the first day I had started clotting and passing clots. And so going to the bathroom was hard, but I remember putting Zeb in his bed, and like I had just read, putting Zeb in his bed, I felt this rush of blood, and I was like, I put him in his bed, covered him up, and ran to the bathroom, because I was like, I'm about to it's gonna be a murder scene. And so I ended up in the shower and I was letting the hot water because the cramps came out of nowhere and they were unbearable. The pain, like, I can't explain how you can be in this much pain. Like, it's not just cramps, it's so much worse. I mean, it's labor. I was laboring. I was literally laboring when I was having these contractions, and they were so painful. But it's so much harder to have contractions and go through that pain when you don't get the joy of a baby on the other side of it. You know, in labor, when you're giving birth to a baby, the pain is unbearable, but you deal with it because you're getting a baby, so like, it's worth it. This time it just was a reminder of how miserable this experience was. It was awful. It was horrible. But I remember being in the shower and I was like, felt like I had to push because I had a clot that I couldn't pass it and it was hurting. So I remember like pushing in the shower, trying to push this clot out, and I could not get it out, and I was in so much pain that I guess like cave instincts came in and I had to pull this clot out of me. And when I pulled out a clot that was way bigger than I was expecting, the amount of blood that came out of my body, it was awful. And you don't expect that. And I truly think if you're watching this and you've never been through a miscarriage, I, like you, who's never been through it, would have never understood. Like, there is no way you can even begin to understand the experience until you've lived it. And I don't wish this on my worst enemy. It's truly horrible. And so, like, I passed those clots. I had to pull that one out, and it was awful. And I remember that I wrote, it was nauseating, emotional, and draining. I finally felt able to get out of the shower and immediately went to the bed with my heating pad to try to get relief. I told Zach I needed him to come home as quickly as possible. By Tuesday evening, I had started to feel better. I was just really weak. And now I'm back to sort of spotting, not bleeding heavy anymore, and it's Wednesday morning, and this has been the most hellacious week of my life. So that was Tuesday, and I kind of thought it was over, and then Wednesday happened, and it happened again, and Wednesday was worse than Tuesday. I remember Wednesday, I was laying in the bed, I was on all fours, and I was in so much pain that I quite literally blacked out. Thank God for me, I got so lucky in so many ways, and I am so thankful to God for so many things. But my mornings and evenings were okay. It was the middle of the day, which obviously I was alone and that part sucked, but it was the middle of the day when Zep was napping. So him napping was such a blessing because I could not have taken care of him. Like, I could not have taken care of him. Sebastian, thank God, is self-sufficient enough that he could get his own snacks, and if I needed to open it, I could. But truly, he fended for himself and just took care of me, and he brought me my water. He would bring me a blanket. He brought me pillows. He brought me a washcloth for my head. He took care of me in so many ways. But I remember Wednesday, I was on all fours in the bed, and I was literally trying to move in every way possible to make the pain go away because I could not take it anymore, to the point that I literally passed out. I don't remember falling asleep, but I literally remember being in pain and then waking up like an hour later, and Zach was home from work, and he was like, I called you didn't answer, and I was like, I don't know what happened. And I think that was probably the worst of it. After that experience, again, Wednesday, I kind of bled off and on. By Thursday, I was bleeding, but not heavily. And that Thursday, I had made the decision that morning when I was feeling good that I was going to go to my mom's group because it was a Bible study week, and because of the way the calendar had fallen, we hadn't been able to meet in almost a month and a half. And so I very much needed my support system at that moment. And I'm going to do a separate video entirely on my support system and things that were done for me, and the way that you can help someone if they're going through a miscarriage and you don't know what to do, and what to do when you don't know what to do. Ironically, that was a sermon from this Sunday, which I want to share about all of that in separate videos. This is kind of just me sharing my raw story. So if you have been through a miscarriage, or if you're looking for support, I hope that these videos, whenever I get them put out, will be an encouragement in some way. or if you don't know what to do when you're watching some of these videos, I hope that, you know, you'll get some advice for how to help your friend, your sister, your mom, your wife, your, you know, whatever. But anyways, that Thursday I went to Bible study that morning, and God worked miraculously that morning. I don't know where I got the energy to even go, but I did. We got there, I got the kids dropped off, and then we were in Bible study, and I had friends literally lay hands on me and pray over me and my friend, who are both going through it together. She's also in my mom's group, and they quite literally prayed over us and held their hands on us and just made just a world of impact. Just their words and their hands laying on my shoulders, it was amazing. And then Thursday afternoon I came home and I rested, because I knew that Zach and I had plans to go to a dinner, or like we had already bought these tickets to a date at the church. It was an event with a comedian and dinner and whatnot, and I had friends going, and we'd already bought the tickets, and so I really, really wanted to go, and I really felt like I needed to go just as much as I wanted to go. For the same reason I went Thursday morning. I just thought it would be good, and I really thought that Zach needed something too, because he had been in this place of like, I don't know how to make you feel better, I don't know what to do. And so I napped all afternoon, and then I was able to get ready, and we went to the church, and it was amazing. Felt so good to just laugh and to just kind of be carefree. And then ironically, in one of the weird ways that's very out of my personality that I've been coping is making morbid jokes, and it's very unlike my character. I'm not really that kind of person. I don't really, like, I'm not funny, I don't make jokes, like, that's just not who I am. But one of the weird ways that I found myself dealing with this trauma from miscarriage is making jokes. And so at the end of the event, they were giving out prizes, and the door prize, you know, the grand prize for the door prize was a overnight trip to go ziplining. And they're up there announcing, kind of talking about the trip, and I like jokingly under my breath looked at Zach and I was like, oh, well, I'm not pregnant anymore, you know, like we can go ziplining. And no more as I get the words out of my mouth, they announced that we won the grand prize. They said my name. When I tell you I walked up there with my draw on the floor, it's literally how I walked up there, because I could not believe that something else good was happening to me when I didn't deserve it. When I was going through the worst time of my life, I didn't feel like I deserved anything else good. And that was just another example of what God did, and we won the trip, and yeah. So Thursday was a really, really good day all around. I remember Thursday I stood outside talking to my friend. Her and her husband were there, and it was good for our husbands to talk a little bit, but my friend and I stood there and we kind of talked through all of the trauma and stuff. And then Friday morning I went in, that Friday I went in for, which would I guess would have been the 10th, yeah, March 10th, I went in for our follow-up ultrasound, and it was really like triggering to be back there. It was really hard to be there and to have to go into the room for the ultrasound. That was hard. But when they did this ultrasound, there was nothing there. Everything was gone, which was also really sad, but also good, because my prayer had been that everything would go naturally and I wouldn't have to have a D&C. I wouldn't have to make that decision. I wouldn't have to, you know, decide to take a pill or anything. I'm glad my body did naturally pass everything, and that the ultrasound showed that it didn't appear there was anything hanging on either. And I met, after the ultrasound, we went in the room to meet with my doctor, and she was like, so you passed everything? And I was like, I guess. I mean, yeah. And she fully did not expect me to have passed everything. She totally expected this appointment to just be a follow-up. And at that appointment, we were probably going to make plans to proceed with inducing the miscarriage. But my body had done it naturally, and so I didn't have to have any of those conversations. But I did go ahead and ask for an anxiety medication prescription, because I suffered so desperately with Zeb and Sebastian, and I truly did not want to walk through postpartum depression. I could not live that again. I have 2 kids I have to take care of, and so I went ahead and asked for medication at that appointment, which I felt like was really brave of me, and something I needed, and I wanted to be aware and be proactive. But then after that appointment was over, we left, and it was like, okay, well, that was that. Like, it was weird that it was over. It was hard. The emotions were really rough. But then Zach and I went to the Cheesecake Factory. We had been given a gift card for Christmas, and we hadn't used it yet, and so we went to the Cheesecake Factory and got, a lunch and some dessert, kind of just spent the day together. And that was when I shared on social media that we had lost our baby, and we were expecting to announce. And if you don't follow me on Instagram, I would say TikTok too, but I post more on Instagram. I did share the video on TikTok, but I have shared a lot through this journey on my social media because it's therapeutic for me. Some people don't want to talk to the world. Some people don't want to put their emotions out there, but some people, it's healing for me to share. It's healing for me to find community that has lived the same things I've lived. It's therapeutic for me to share what worked for me and what didn't, and to have people reach out and say, oh, this was a blessing to me, thank you for sharing this. It's almost healing, and like what I went through gives purpose to the loss that we experienced. And so that may not be your personality, that may not be how you cope, but it's really been healing for me. And so if you want to follow me on Instagram, like I said, I've shared more there. But that was the day that we announced on social media that we had lost our baby. And then it was kind of like all over, and it was like this really weird, I should be 10 weeks pregnant, and then I wasn't, and then like today I should be almost 12 weeks pregnant, we should be out of the first trimester. But instead, the day that I was supposed to turn 12 weeks, I will be in Disney World, and I think that that's really healing, because I needed to find joy. And when I was going through this, I was like, I need joy. I need something to look forward to. There's a lot of backstory as far as why we're going to Disney, but I think I'm going to share some of those things in my vlog when we go to Disney on Friday. But, after everything Sebastian and I went through, like I said, he was like my main caretaker while Zach was at work, and he deserves this trip as much as I do for being so sweet and so helpful to me during that time. And it's weird that it literally was only a week and a half ago, and it literally feels like a lifetime ago. It's weird. I'm still kind of going through everything. Oh, that was the other thing. I took a pregnancy test 2 days ago, I guess on March 19th. My doctor had, because like I said, she's further away, she had said instead of coming in and doing blood work, that would be a lot of like trauma and running back and forth, and to just take an at-home test and kind of see if, to see when it stops showing pregnant. And so I took a pregnancy test kind of expecting it to be negative, and seeing a positive on a pregnancy test when you're not really pregnant is traumatic. And I don't think that enough people realize that, like, how that works, and that you will still show positive even though you're not pregnant. And I feel kind of robbed of the fact that I'll never look at a pregnancy test the same. If we do decide to try for a third, or if I do get pregnant again, I'll never be able to enjoy pregnancy. I'll kind of always have this overwhelming anxiety and fear, and I think that kind of sucks. It really sucks to think about. But yeah, that's kind of my miscarriage story. Like I said, I know this video is really long, but I just wanted to put this out there for me, mostly to have it documented and kind of share the experience, but also just because I feel like, God gave me this testimony and I didn't ask for it. And that Sunday at church, they played one song that was, "This is my testimony from death to life." He rewrote my story. And this isn't the story that I wanted. It's not the story that I would want to share. It's not the testimony that I want. I didn't ask for this to be my story. But it is. And I have to live with that. And I have to lead people to Jesus through it. And honestly, hurting people, I feel like can lead people to Jesus more than healed people. Because people who are hurting are the ones who need Jesus the most. If everything's going right, you know, you kind of push him to the wayside. Oh, I don't need you right now. Like, life's good. When we're hurting, though, that's when we need him the most. And so if nothing else comes out of this than a pure testimony of God's goodness, then that's all that I could ask for. The tiny little baby that I carried for 8.5, nearly 9 weeks, did more in that short period of time than some people will ever do in their lifetime. And the amount of God's goodness that I've seen, you know, he is just so good. And the amount of goodness I've seen through this whole experience is something that I will share forever, that I want to share, that I feel like I have to share. I have to lead people to Jesus through that. And that's why I'm putting this video out there. That's why I'm filming and sharing these dark times that I've walked through, because I think it's important. And you know, we're too close to the end times, and people need Jesus, and people need to know that he's good even in the darkness. And so if nothing else, that's what I hope you take away from this video. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you're not subscribed, because I do have, you know, like I said, a couple more videos about this experience, and then also we're going to Disney, and so I want to share about those things and the good things that have come out of this. So subscribe if you're not subscribed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.